Hello there, welcome to the collaboration part of the review. I'm Doug, and I'm here with my friend Alan.
Hey guys, hi Doug. So stay tuned, right? We're going to be seeing my review of this pen, the PenBBS 487. And then right after that, you're going to see Doug and I discussing our views on this pen and a bunch of other stuff that's pen related. And then please, by all means, make sure you jump over to Doug's channel. I'll have the link in the show notes, and you'll get to see Doug's review of this pen as well, and you'll get to see our discussion all over again, as if one time wasn't enough for you.
Yeah, and on my video, you'll see my review, and then you'll see our discussion. And there's a link to Alan's review in my description. So, and before we both say it, I think we'll both say it. Make sure you like and subscribe on both of our channels, and ring that bell to get a notification as well.
That's right. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Comment, share,
hit the bell to get the notification. And I guess without any further ado, here's the my review of the 487, and we'll see you on the backside.
Greetings, pen pals. We have the long-awaited follow-up to the 492, which is right here. This is the 487. So here's the 492, here's the 487. You could see them. They're pretty much the exact same size, but very, very different pens. The 492 came out earlier this year, limited edition pen using the very unique magnetic filling system. There's a bunch of videos that I did and a few of my colleagues did, which review this pen in detail. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the 492 other than to compare it to the 487. The 487 is a brand new pen. This is also uses the magnetic driven piston filling mechanism, but this is as you can see, a very stripped down minimalistic pen. Doesn't have a cap band. It doesn't have a clip band. It just has a clip, and that's it. It's a very stripped down minimalistic pen, but the design elements on it are pretty nice. I actually kind of like the design elements of it, and of course the material. This is in the Galaxy Fit material, and the material here, it goes without saying, is just absolutely gorgeous. This is a very popular finish in PenBBS. This is though my first pen in the Galaxy finish from PenBBS, and this is really, really just a stunner in terms of finish. Let's go through some of the basic parts of the pen, and then we'll go into details on the filling system, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's a bit of bad and ugly. So again, like I said, this is a very minimal pen. There is no cap band. There is a little bit of external branding, which I really, really like. I wish it was a little more prominent, but it has 2005 PenBBS 487 Shanghai, China in this somewhat retro-looking imprint on the pen. This was a much more common feature of vintage pens. It was pretty much a universal among vintage pens, these sort of embossed imprints. They've sort of fallen out of favor in recent years, but I really, really like them. It does look nice on this pen. That's on the cap. Now the clip is the standard PenBBS sword style clip in a chrome plated finish. It is pretty much the identical clip to say what would be say on the PenBBS 500 or the PenBBS 456, etc. So it's a very standard clip that PenBBS has been using on sort of their flagship pens for a while now. It is a screw to uncap pen. It takes 1 3/4 turns to unscrew, so that's pretty nice. And it does post, and it doesn't post deeply, but it does post quite securely. So that's pretty nice. Now I think it's not too long posted. Some folks out there might think it's too long posted. It is actually decently long unposted. As you probably know if you watch any of my videos, I'm a huge fan of posting, so I'll be using this pen posted, but your mileage may vary. It of course has the standard PenBBS hourglass shape section in the same really nice material that matches the rest of the pen. It has what's now become a fairly standard PenBBS nib. This is what's called the round medium nib. It has a big stylized M for medium. 2005, which is the year of PenBBS. Its founding says PenBBS, Shanghai, China on it, which is just it's a nice nib. These are removable nib units, so the whole nib unit does unscrew. You could pull the nib and feed out and replace it, but you got to be careful. This feed, I guess what I would call uninspiring plastic feed, does have very, very delicate fins. So when you actually pull the nib and feed out from the nib unit, you have to be really careful. Another thing to be careful about is there's two clear O-rings here. Be very careful not to lose them if you're taking the nib unit in and out of the pen. And this is pretty much interchangeable with the vast majority of PenBBS pens, which is pretty nice. This is a standard number 6 size nib, so you could replace the nib with another number 6 nib if you so desired. The back end of the pen has a little inset medallion that says 487 Shanghai PenBBS. Now, this medallion theoretically, I think, would unscrew. I've tried to unscrew it. I can't get it out, but I haven't really tried too hard. There was a very similar medallion on the 492 that had your limited edition number on it for the limited edition. Similarly, this clearly unscrews because you can see the threads there. I haven't been able to unscrew mine, but then again, I haven't had a real need to either. If the piston gets stuck at the bottom, you would need to unscrew that to get it out. If it gets stuck at the top, you could of course unscrew if it gets stuck at the top, you could of course unscrew the section to get it out. Okay, let's talk about the piston now. The way this pen works is there's a magnet in the top of the cap. It's a little hard to see here. I'll show you on the 492 where it's all clear and you can actually see the magnet very clearly there, but similar type of magnet on the cap. There's a piston with a magnet attached to the piston, and there's no drive screw or any other kind of mechanism to move the piston. The way you move the piston is by dragging the magnet down and up the side of the pen. Now, since this one isn't a clear demonstrator, you could see it a little bit through the finish, but really you're mostly doing it by feel. Part of the issue is that this mechanism is a little bit twitchy in that, sometimes you go to drag it and the piston just doesn't move. So what you actually have to do is rotate it a bit to sort of get the piston to turn internally inside the barrel to sort of free it up, so then you can move it up and down. So far, that works just fine, but it is a little bit twitchy and finicky, etc., and so forth. If you want to do any kind of maintenance or cleaning on the pen, what you would need to do is you drag the piston all the way to the top. You could unscrew the section, which does come out. There is an O-ring there, which is nice. I put a little silicone grease on there already. I also put a little extra silicone grease on the piston itself. So what you could do is, there's the piston, and you could see, you could drag it out with the magnet, and there we go. So that's the piston with the magnet attached to the bottom, and you can see the piston has a O-ring on it. So I'm just gonna pop that guy back in the pen, and we could drag it back down. So at the moment, it's moving up and down fine, but when I first got this, or even if you let it sit overnight, you may have to fiddle with it by doing that rotation process that I described to get the piston to freely move in the pen, which, you know, is a little bit annoying. I mean, to be honest, this filling mechanism is kind of really a gimmick. If you really want to just maximize the capacity of the pen, they could have just made this whole thing an eyedropper. You unscrew your eyedropper. It takes 30 seconds to fill that way, and you don't have to deal with this finicky piston mechanism. The pen does hold a lot of ink, so if you fill it, chances are you're not going to be filling it very often. So there is that. But again, I think this is one of these filling mechanisms that is for die-hard fountain pen enthusiasts only. A normal, say, civilian, so to speak, is not going to have the patience or the inclination to fiddle with a finicky filling mechanism like this, because it is quite finicky, and I guess it could be annoying if you kind of were in a hurry to fill your pen or anything like that. So that is this sort of overview of the filling mechanism. In terms of size, we can compare it. So here it is compared to a Lamy Safari and a Pilot Metropolitan. So as you can see, it's a pretty much size aligned with both of these pens. In terms of weight, it's not particularly light because the magnets, it's got two magnets, the one inside the piston and the one in the cap, add a little bit of weight. It weighs 24 grams. Can we compare it with some other PenBBS pens? We certainly can. Okay, so here we are with our little lineup of some popular PenBBS pens. So this is our 487 that we're talking about here today. This is a 456. You can see the 456 is a tiny bit longer. So is the 355. But again, we're talking about just a couple of millimeters. It's very comparable in size to this pen, which is sometimes called the 266 or the 308, depending what finish you get it in and where you get it from. And it is pretty much the exact same size as we said as the 492. Okay, the proof of the pudding is in the inking, as they say. Doug and I discussed this in terms of what ink we were going to use for reviewing this, and we both settled on this Iroshizuku Konpeki ink, which definitely goes well with this Galaxy finish, that's for sure. So let's try inking this up. So again, just to review, the way this is going to work is we have the piston in the pen, and we're going to drag this piston up and down using the magnet. If we do this properly, we should only have to drag it up once. So I'm going to leave it in this lower position here because that's where we're going to start from, and we will open up our bottle of Konpeki and we will get going here. So I'm going to submerge that in and drag it up. All right. I'm kind of curious to see how much ink we actually got, so I'm going to do that twice. So that really filled pretty nice. Look at all that ink coming out. All right, so that actually worked quite well. All right, we'll pull it down, and then we will pull it up a second time. Okay, there we go. So let's just wipe that off, and we'll call that a successful fill. Pretty nice. Again, the filling mechanism works, no doubt about that. I'm not going to say you have a filling mechanism that effectively doesn't work, but again, I just question that kind of what's the point to it beyond the gimmick and cool factor, etc. I'm not sure there really is one, but But it is kind of neat and it's kind of cool. And given that the pen does hold quite a bit of ink, you're not going to be filling it that often. So any of the sort of twitchiness that the filling mechanism has is kind of not that big a deal. But of course, pens were meant to write, and I do know you do want to see this pen write, and I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, folks, so what we're writing with here is a PenBBS model 487, and this has a steel nib in medium. And actually they call this a rounded medium or round medium. So this is definitely pretty nice. So we're talking about a nib that is pretty smooth. This writes as expected, so this is sort of a typical PenBBS round medium nib. I have this nib in quite a few other pens, but it flows well. And I definitely like it. I would say from a wetness perspective, it's probably just about average to very slightly above average, but not a gusher, not dry. It's just right, as Goldilocks would say. And definitely have no complaints whatsoever. In case you're wondering about reverse writing with this nib, it is possible. And frankly, it's not even all that scratchy. And I would say that takes it from a medium to a XX fine. But definitely looks okay. It'll definitely work. The nice thing is, if you're not crazy about this nib, it is a number 6 size nib, and it's not that big a deal to pull out the nib unit and replace the nib. Another thing you could do, and I've actually done this myself, is you can order from PenBBS a thing called a parts pack, which comes with a bunch of converters, O-rings, feeds, and nib holders. So you can essentially create your own nib unit for a PenBBS pen out of any old number 6 nib that you might have lying around, and then it becomes just a matter of screwing the nib units in and out. So it makes the whole nib unit swapping on PenBBS pens really, really nice. You can get those parts packs on eBay and on the official PenBBS store on Etsy also sells them. So they're a nice thing to have around. In terms of overall comfort with this pen, I personally don't find it back weighted. I know some people will. The magnet on the end of the cap does add some weight. It is plenty long to use unposted, but I do really like to post my pens, and I will put up with a bit of back weighting. So I don't find this particularly back weighted, but definitely there are people that will. It's all real comfortable, typical nice long hourglass section. These threads are absolutely nothing to speak of. They're glassy smooth, so you're not going to have a problem there at all. So really nice pen. I have to give Doug some credit here. He's the one who suggested pairing this with Konpeki, and it was a great choice. It pairs very nice with this Galaxy finish, which again I am just really happy with. So normally I'd be saying goodbye at this point, but instead I'm going to say stay tuned, because what you're going to hear next is Doug and I discussing the pen. And by all means, please jump over, after you're done, please jump over to Doug's channel, where you can see Doug's review of this identical pen and get his individual perspectives, as well as our joint conversation as well. You'll be able to see a link to Doug's video in the notes for this show. So please stay tuned, and we will be joining you momentarily. Bye-bye.
And we're back with our discussion. But we're going to talk about a couple of subjects. We're going to talk about the 487. We're going to compare it with the 492 limited edition magnetic piston filler. And then we're going to speculate on some future things about PenBBS. So do you want to go ahead with your ideas on, because you brought up the word first, gimmick.
Yeah, so yes, it is absolutely a gimmick. There's no doubt about it. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Gimmicks
Right.
have their place. The other thing I would describe it is it's purely an enthusiast pen. There's really only two types of people who would even really think about buying and using this pen. One is diehard fountain pen people like we are, where just the fact that it's a cool, interesting, and somewhat unique filling mechanism makes it attractive in and of itself. And the fact that it's not the easiest to use is secondary. The other people are people who are really obsessed with magnets. And there are people like that. I mean, there are lots of people that are all into sort of magnetic toys and all sorts of magnetic gadget fans, I guess, would be a category. And those sort of people would be really, really interested in this. Beyond that, I just can't see even a slightly more than casual fountain pen user would not be interested in this pen at all. The filling mechanism is just too twitchy. It's just too much work. I mean, it really is. I mean, just to make it work.
Yeah, and I agree. Actually, in my review, you haven't seen it yet. I had a lot of trouble. I tried to demonstrate using my 492 because the Galaxy isn't see-through, and this thing stuck. My 492 stuck like crazy. I ended up getting ink all over myself. I ended up being frustrated. And then I said, okay, well, I'll try with this. And it was slightly better, but still, I thought, what a pain. And the good thing is that because it takes so much ink, you don't have to do it that many times. But the problem is that you leave it that piston sit there for a while and it sticks. And so I've been suggesting that a good solution might be to take the piston out, but glue it down with crazy glue and make this thing an eyedropper pen, just permanent.
Or PenBBS should just make an eyedropper version.
And that was a suggestion as well, because I like this pen. I mean, the Galaxy.
Let's talk about this.
What we like.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So I called this, when I first saw the pictures of it, I called it PenBBS Unplugged, which is really kind of what you're getting here. This is highly stripped down. There isn't even a clip band. There's the only pieces of furniture on the entire pen are this little medallion on the end and then the clip itself. That's it.
That's it.
It's a very, very minimalistic pen, which is nice. The imprint is nice. And I really like that. And it's sort of throwbacky, and I wish more pens would actually do that, because that was kind of a cool thing 100 years ago. Every pen had an imprint. And
I kind of like that as well, that heat stamp of that medallion 487 on the back. I mentioned in my review that I thought this was really good of a Chinese designer, because Chinese design, like Italian design, is sometimes very over the top and very ornate and a bit much. And I found
you mean like the 492?
Exactly. That's why I got this one up here. But it's a bit much. And the more I used this pen, the more I thought, I don't really like that pen. And then this came along, and I love this pen, especially and it doesn't post great. Okay, it doesn't post. Yes, it posts. I know you'll argue with me that it does post.
Do you find it too heavy or too long?
It's too heavy and too long.
Okay.
So, but in your hand, unposted, this is as comfortable as my 323. I'm thinking, because I want to use this a lot, I don't want to fight with that filler. I'm going to take the gimmick out and make it just an eyedropper.
It's kind of a shame. That's like the marquee thing about this pen is the filling mechanism.
One of the things I focused on was, look at the workmanship on that seam. They rolled that edge, and they rolled that edge together so that it's seamless. It's just like butter.
That's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought about that, but that is actually, the manufacturing tolerances on that are actually quite nice. That hadn't actually occurred to me. That's really nice. I think I mentioned this on the last one. They're just starting to bore me a little bit. I think they need to come up with a more exciting clip design. And I think they need to come out with some more interesting nibs.
And that
Yeah.
might lead into another topic of discussion, but I did want to speculate, because I speculated last time. I would like to see PenBBS take this and replace the 352 with this pen. Take the magnet out of this, take the end plug out of it, and make it an eyedropper pen converter pen, just like this. The 352 flat top, I haven't got one, but it looks boring to me. But this is a very nicely engineered, sleek, beautiful pen.
If I wanted an eyedropper PenBBS pen, to be honest, that's not what I would pick as a design basis. Would be the 500.
Yeah, right.
As much as I
It's
love
bigger.
the filling mechanism on the 500,
Yeah,
I just think this as an eyedropper would kill.
it's
Right,
ridiculously long. You can conduct an orchestra. You can conduct an orchestra with that.
Yeah. Maybe what they should do is fix the design of this a little bit. Make that like taper on the end. They should make it so it goes all the way in.
They should have done that originally.
Yeah. So if they fix that, make this an eyedropper pen. This is the PenBBS design I would want to see. If they were going to do an eyedropper on, would be the 500.
I think that was a terrific discussion, Alan. Thank you very much for
Welcome, Doug.
participating in this again. I'd like to thank everybody for watching and remind you to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that button to get instant notifications, and also comment.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and don't forget, check out the video on Doug's channel. Again, the link will be in the notes below. And again, thanks for joining. Good to see you later.
Thank you, Alan. We'll see all of you later, and your video will be linked in my description as well. So thank you all for watching, and it's good night from me, and it's good night from him.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.